Hello, guys.
Hello, hello.
We're excited to have you. We're seeing some people roll in.
We'll give everyone a chance to get settled. How are
Hope
you today, Tina?
I'm doing good. I was just gonna say, I hope everyone's having a wonderful day. It's warm where I am, so
Ooh,
that always makes me happy.
it's not very well, it's not cold either, but it's not very warm. It's like 50 degrees.
Ooh,
I'm
little
in
cold for me.
Massachusetts, so 50 degrees is pretty nice for this time of year.
Yeah.
How about you? What is it near you?
It says 70 on my computer. I was just outside for a walk at
Ooh,
lunch, so it's really nice out.
lovely.
Ideal
The
weather.
days are getting longer, so I don't know about all you out there, but that just is like a game changer for me.
Me too, me
Have the
too.
sun out after I'm done for the day.
Yeah, me too. Awesome. Okay, I'm seeing some familiar faces coming in on the attendees. And then I see some new ones too. So it's great. We're excited to show you around today.
Yeah.
All
Take
right.
it away,
Should we
Tina.
get started?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Awesome. Okay, so I am going to start with intros. I'll start with myself, then I'll pass it over to Kara. My name's Tina. I started out in the field of ABA as an RBT for a local ABA company. I really loved that position. I worked with some amazing kiddos, and I realized just like how amazing the ABA industry is. And because of that, I wanted to work for a company that had those same values in this industry, which is what brought me into Aloha. I started off in Aloha as a customer success manager, where I was very involved in day-to-day setup and the journey of bringing people into Aloha for our current customers. And then I transitioned into the account executive role, which is my current role. And I get to help out potential customers and see if they're finding a good fit in us, which is always exciting. And I'm really thankful that I'm familiar with that industry as an RBT from that clinical standpoint. And then Aloha, of course, taught me all of the other things in the background, the scheduling, the billing, all the fun stuff. And that's just a little about me and my role and what's bringing me here today. I'm going to pass the mic over to Kara. Kara, do you want to share a little bit about you and Motivity?
Absolutely. Hi, I'm Carrie Lecklider. I am a BCBA and Director of Sales at Motivity. So, like Tina, I started out on the clinical side of things. For the past decade or so, I've really been focusing on technology within this field. And it always blows me away how, even within the span of my own career, we've seen ABA go from paper and pencil to just really sophisticated software solutions. So that's where I get really excited. I hope you do too. That's really what we're going to be showing you today. Because our goal, both of our companies, our goal is to make your life easier through technology and really support the work that you are doing out there. And as Tina mentioned, I see some familiar names in our attendee list today. I see some people that are new as well. So whether you already know Aloha or if you know Motivity or maybe you're new to both, there will be something for everyone on this call because what we're really going to be focusing on today is our integration and all of those integration points that make a really seamless workflow. So jumping right into that, I will start by addressing the elephant in the room, which is a question that we get all the time, is why would I pick two separate systems when there are all-in-one solutions out there? So I will say firsthand experience, when you choose a best-in-class solution, so you're choosing an integrated data collection and practice management system, you are truly getting the best of both worlds. By focusing on what we do best, both companies are able to invest all of our support, all of our engineering efforts, all of our attention into either data collection or practice management. And what you get is so much more than the sum of its parts because you get this really robust tool set that you can customize and craft to meet your exact needs. And because of our integrated workflow, it's really a seamless experience. So it was all intentionally designed with the idea ahead of time that people really only have to log into one system to do their work every day. So your technicians, your clinicians will be accessing Motivity. Everything they need from Aloha is going to pull right in. Your administrators, your billers, they're going to do their day-to-day in Aloha, and everything they need from Motivity will pull in on their end. So it really allows everybody to stay in their lane. And this workflow is bi-directional. So everybody is seeing what people are doing in the other system as well.
Awesome. Exactly, Kara. So as she was saying, to build off of that, we are streamlined together to make it as easy as possible for all different sides of your organization, the behind the scenes operations, the clinical piece for your providers, and the billing component. And we're both also very reliable companies with an emphasis in customer support. And I think that really, really, really makes both of our systems stand out. We assign you a customer success manager to connect with, and they help you with your setup. And that person, of course, has the Aloha or the Motivity knowledge, but they also have the industry knowledge as well. So they are able to help you with industry specific questions and guide you along the way, knowing the industry. Your customer success manager is always a point of contact with you throughout your entire journey at the software. We also have a very dependable and responsible support teams on both sides that you can connect with as well. And I really think that that focus on customer support is super, super, super helpful when you're using a software day in and day out. And if you do have a question or you do need to submit a ticket, it's not going to get lost in the masses. We'll be able to connect with you. So let's kind of jump into today's integration. So we are going to be showing you the full process of how Motivity and how Aloha are working together. I'm going to start off with you on the Aloha side. We are going to be building out a client profile together. We're going to add an appointment in the schedule. Then we're going to hop over to Motivity. We're going to take data as an RBT. We're going to create a session note on Motivity as an RBT. And then we're going to come back to Aloha and we're going to put on our biller hats and bill it out. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to share my screen with you guys. We're starting off on Aloha. Okay, I went ahead and shared my screen. Now, I do want to say, I know there are some existing Aloha customers on here. If anything is unfamiliar to you at any point, just drop your questions in the chat. Of course, also, if Aloha is unfamiliar to you, feel free to drop your questions in the chat as well. There is a Q&A and there's a chat box. Feel free to use either. We'll be looking at both. Okay, so what I'm showing you right now is a glance at what your Aloha dashboard might look like. Your dashboard on Aloha is a bunch of different widgets that give you a really good overview of the inside of your system. So I'm going to point out a few of these to you. First, I'm showing you this expiring qualifications widget. This is showing you any staff qualifications coming up on expiration in the next 30, 60, and 90 days. It is clickable, so it'll take you inside to a report to get more information on which qualifications, which staff this applies to. We have a very similar widget for expiring authorizations, which auths are coming up on expiration in the next 30, 60, 90 days. And again, a clickable widget to take you inside to that report. Billing at Aloha, there's a couple of billing widgets. Unbilled appointments helps you keep track of any appointments that might be slipping through the cracks, how many appointments have gone unbilled in the last 30, 60, 90 days. Aging report right here is showing amount outstanding versus amount billed from month to month. As you start to get payments into the system, your amount outstanding bar will start to shrink. Billing summary is showing amount billed from month to month. Canceled appointment summary is showing any cancellations in your system. Now, keep in mind, you're going to be customizing whatever cancellations you want to see. And then this is just tracking them based on those types you customized. Okay, so we are going to next focus on building out a client together. Now, keep in mind, I have already created a staff on the back end. I've also already created a payer on the back end. And when I created that payer, I put in all of my fee schedule information. So my billing codes, my rates, my charges, my modifiers, etc. So right now we're building out a client. I'm in my client list. I'm going to click on my big blue plus sign, and we're going to add in our first client together. We are naming our client Stitch for today. Let's go ahead and put in some basic info. I'm even going to choose a photo for today's purposes. Let's see. I have a really cute photo of Stitch with an ice cream cone, and it just makes me happy when I see it. So this will make me happy when I get to Stitch's profile. Okay, so now that we have Stitch in, this is what Stitch's profile is going to look like in the very beginning when it's completely blank. So in the profile tab, we're noticing first, we have our personal info we just put in. We have a custom fields card. Custom fields is going to be a way to customize your site, track things that you would like to track at your client level. Everything that you're seeing here that I'm highlighting are things we put into this demo site. You can put whatever you need to here. These are just some examples. Contacts is going to be a great way to add any client contacts in relation to this kiddo. You can also give them portal access here if you need to. They can pay any outstanding balances in the Aloha client portal. You can also assign staff to that kiddo's caseload as you need to. Great way to build out HIPAA compliance, set their permissions to say, hey, they can only be clients they're assigned to. And then you can also assign them to any teams in your organization. I'm focusing next here on my authorization tab. So in this auth tab, we're going to be building out an authorization together today. So I'm going to add in first my payer information. I'm going to click on that big blue plus sign again. I'm going to say, okay, my payer is United Behavioral Health. I'm going to put in some general info. When is the effective date? Let's see, we'll put in our insured IDs, my insured name, billing provider. If I needed to put in group numbers, plan program numbers, I can. I can also put in any medical info release signatures. Once I have all of my basic info in that policy, I'm going to hit save and I'm going to add the authorization under that policy itself. So in this authorization section, I'm essentially telling the system how I would like to schedule and what's getting pulled into billing. So first, I'm going to set an authorization number at the very top if I have one for this policy. Next, I'm going to put in my date range here. Let's see. Let's do the second. Now I'm going to be pulling in a service name. So when I'm pulling in a service name, it's going to give me the options of any services under this payer that I built out. So I already have my fee schedule for all these different services in on the back end. When I select that service, so I'm selecting assessment in this example, this is bringing in my billing code. This is bringing in my rate and my charge for assessment for this payer, my modifiers, minimum staff qualifications. It's bringing in all that setup. Next, I'm going to put in my allowed limit. This is however your authorization is written. In my example, I'm putting it in units and auth, which is super common for ABA, but I can switch it up depending. Now I'm defaulting the rendering provider. I'm going to default the place of service and the service facility. These defaults here typically stay very repetitive. It's the same client, same service. So it's a great way to save time by just defaulting. You don't have to select it every single time you schedule. Keep in mind, though, if these things do change, you can change them at the appointment level, and you can also change them at the billing level as you need to. I'm then going to click on the plus side inside of this auth, and I'm going to add in one service with you again. So direct service, again, it copied over my date range. It also copied over my defaults. Now, if I needed to change that, I definitely could. And then we'll go ahead and put in our allowed limit here. All right, I'm going to go ahead and save my authorization here. Now I'm going to stop sharing briefly, and we're going to show you what the sync process looks like for Motivity to Aloha.
Absolutely. So one of my absolute favorite things about our integration is that it is real time. So as soon as Tina does something in Aloha, you're going to see it come over to Motivity just like that. No refreshing, no syncing, it's just there. It is also a bi-directional connection. So anything that Tina enters into Aloha will sync over to Motivity once the learner is connected. And then if I make any updates in Motivity, it's going to sync back to Aloha. So really, that's just one of those touches that really makes you feel like you're using one system because there's no duplication at all. So I am in Motivity right now. I'm under my organization settings. I can see that I do have one active integration, and of course that is with Aloha ABA. I see that I have my learners and my members that are part of this organization, and this is where I sync together the accounts. So I have 4 learners, 2 that are already linked. I have 1 that is not linked, and aha, that is Stitch right here. So if I click on Stitch, I am seeing this card, and that is matching Stitch over to that account that was created on Aloha. And as soon as I click this card, all of that information that Tina entered in, the date of birth, anything else that was put in, the address, comes over to Motivity. And again, if I were to edit this in Motivity, Tina would see the update on her end as well. But what that now means is that Stitch's account is synced between both systems. So now when Tina creates an appointment in Aloha, it's going to come over to Motivity for the behavior technician to see. So take it away.
All right, let me go ahead and share my screen with you guys, and we are jumping right into the schedule now. So as Kara was saying, we're going to be walking you through creating an appointment and how that instantly shows up on the Motivity side, which is so cool. Let me give you a breakdown of what you're seeing here from the Aloha side on your schedule, and then we'll create an appointment together. So this is an example of a staff perspective schedule. Now we do have different types of appointments, and those are going to be based on these icons on the left. We'll have billable appointments in here. We'll have non-billable appointments, drive time or mileage, and break time or lunches. We're focusing today on a billable appointment icon, which is this clipboard with some text in it. And then I also want to point out to you on the very right-hand side, we have all of these little status bubbles, and these status bubbles are letting us know if that appointment has been completed in Aloha or not. So completed in Aloha is a filled-in status bubble, and it lets us know this appointment has been rendered and it's ready to be billed in the system. If it is not completed, it's an open circle like this one. Okay, when you are creating an appointment, you can either double click in the schedule itself, or you can click on that big blue plus sign. It's following me around everywhere. You'll create this pop-up window. If it's a billable appointment, you're going to add in a staff. You're going to select a client. I'm going to select Stitch. When I select Stitch here, all of the authorized services that I just put in that authorization are going to populate for me because they are active. I am selecting whichever service name that I would like to schedule for, and this brings in the auth information. This also brings in all my billing information. So I have a staff, I have a client, I have a service, I have a date. I can put in my start and my end time here. If I needed to repeat it, I could repeat it. Your repeat tool is very similar to Google Calendar repeat tool. The only difference is we have this authorization end date button. So if you are repeating and you're like, when do I stop? This just click the button, memorizes that auth end date for you. So super simple there. Okay, I am not going to hit save yet because I want to see it. I want to show you it coming over from the Motivity side and like populating when I hit save.
All right, so here I am on my Motivity screen. I'm in my appointments card. So these are showing me my appointments for the day. And as you can see, da, 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 as Tina clicked save, that's how real time our connection is. And if Tina were now adjusting that appointment time, canceling that appointment, adding new ones as she just did, these are all going to come over into my Motivity account right away. So you can rest assured knowing that your technicians are always seeing the most up-to-date information. So let's jump into data collection now. So Stitch obviously is brand new, so I have not yet set up programs for Stitch. So I instead am going to use Ohana, which is another learner that is synced between our two accounts here. Now with Ohana, I have set up programs, and I did use our template library to very quickly and easily assign programs. Motivity has almost 1,000 templates of all ABA procedures, protocol, assessments, a lot of skills-based programs. We link to the Vineland, the ABLES, and the VB map, so really easy to find the programs that you need. What stands out to me about Motivity is really the versatility of our program builder. We like to say, if you can do something on paper pencil, you can do it in Motivity. You are not at all limited, so whatever your clinical procedures and workflows are, you can build that in Motivity. But that being said, let's take a look at what I have set up for Ohana. So what I did here is I clicked on my appointment with Ohana, and you see that this blade opened up, and these are all of my cards that are associated with Ohana's account. Now, as a technician, I go straight into collect data, and all of the programs that I have already assigned to Ohana have loaded. Now, this is my session type here. So Ohana has just one session type, but if you are multidisciplinary or perhaps you work across locations, you can set up as many session types as you need. So you might have ABA, speech, OT, home, parent training, totally up to you. And they're essentially containers where you can divide all of your programs and targets into the applicable session type. So for now, I will start my regular session right here. I can see that this has 7 programs with 31 targets. I'm going to put in my expected end time. Now, this is capturing the time that I'm actually working with the learner, which we know might be different from the full appointment time. And the system is using this time to calculate rate and so on, and it can be adjusted later. I'll show that to you. But this is different than the Aloha appointment time, and I'll show you how this all plays together. But I put that in. With Motivity, you can set up interval sequences, partial, momentary, or whole, whatever you need. I'm going to start just one partial interval right now to show you what it looks like. Once I click Start Session, you can see that all of the programs that live within the session container open right away. And that interval that I started is elapsing in the lower left-hand corner. So I can just start real quickly collecting my data, so on and so forth. As soon as that interval elapses, it's going to light up yellow. I can click it. Did behavior occur at least once in this interval? This is partial, so I could answer that, and then go back to whatever it was that I was doing. Now, what I absolutely love about Motivity is that you are never pressing save, you are never pressing sync, everything is immediately getting saved to the system. So you can see right here, as I click and collect my data, as soon as these light up, I know they are saved to the server. Even better, they are instantly graphed. So if I click on this little history icon right here, not only do I see the data points that I just collected, but I can see previous data points as well. I can zoom out and see everything. I could zoom into different date ranges. I get a little nice summary right below the graph, and you'll see how quickly and easily this all changes. Really nice. We thought it was really important to give technicians the ability to view their data in session, to not only look at their own data, but look at previous data points as well. If you scroll down, you can also see trial by trial data. So I can see my timestamps. If I have multiple people in the session with me, I see who collected which data point, and everything is real time. So every person in the session looking at the data are seeing it roll in. This graph is available on the clinician side as well, of course, for analysis, reporting, pulling into progress reports, so on and so forth. But again, we did think it was very important to bring this functionality into the data collection session itself. Now I realize I have been ignoring my poor intervals over here, so I'll take a look and see what's happened. Obviously, many of them have elapsed. If I did not have the chance to observe, I can skip right over. It's not going to affect the session outcome, but maybe I was using another way of recording. I can go back, I can edit. So this is like super, super user-friendly. I always think back to the days when I was writing things out on my hand. But this is really nice. I will stop this for now, but these intervals are available at the top of the screen so that the technician is able to open them whenever it is applicable during the session. So maybe it's time for group now and we're taking prompts to attend. This is a really nice one. This is actually giving you a rate. So they can have this elapse for the 30 minutes, close it when it's done. So just really nice, keeping your screen clean, focus on what you need to focus on. Speaking of, there are a few different ways that the technician can choose to view their screen, and they could switch in and out as they go depending on what they're doing. So right now I am in this view called Show Targets for the Selected Program. Exactly what it sounds like. This is my favorite for discrete child teaching, just because you have all of your programs on the left, and then when you open your program, you have all of your targets on the right. Exactly what it sounds like. You can scroll through. Now, if you prefer, this one does have quite a few targets here. I can do show targets one at a time, in which case it just reduces my scroll, so I can just open one at a time. While I'm in this program, I do also want to point out Motivity's flexibility. Like I mentioned, this is really the standout to me, is just the customization and the level of flexibility here. For break, please, we're using this particular prompting hierarchy. For open, we are using this prompting hierarchy. So even within a program for different targets, you can use different teaching procedures, different measurement tools. You are naming your prompts, you are ordering them, you are specifying, is it least to most? Is it most to least? Are we using within session prompt fading? setting up your auto transitions, all of that good stuff. If you can imagine it, or if you can design your protocol on paper, you can put it into Motivity. Alrighty, the last view I want to show you is show targets for all programs. And this collapses it into an accordion style of view. And now this is my favorite for naturalistic style teaching. So maybe it's time to do all of my NET. I can also utilize this filter feature. I can either filter by phase, but in this case, I'm going to filter by label and choose all of my NET targets. You set up your labels to be called whatever it is you need, whether you're filtering by domain, by location, by time of day, even by staff name. Whatever it is that's helpful for your technicians to find what they need throughout the session, you can do that. So in this case, I now have my NET open and I could start working on this. I have my simple pass fail here. I have my custom prompts right here. And then, of course, I can toggle back to another view as I'm going through my session. So really giving the technician autonomy to set up their screen however is most helpful for them. I'm sure you have noticed there are a few targets that are following me around regardless of the page that I'm on. These are my pinned targets, and you can pin absolutely anything to the bottom of your screen. I have this help me from this program pinned to the bottom of my screen so I can collect data here. So maybe I'm focusing on that today and I want to be able to grab it easily. If I'm not working on this anymore, I can unpin it. Maybe today I'm working on 1 more minute. I can pin that down. Now, what people are typically using these pin targets for are for capturing behavior, because as soon as it happens, you don't want to have to scroll through your list. So in this case, maybe the learner starts crying. I could start my timer right here. I could go back to whatever it was I was working on. Maybe I prompted them to take a break. I can collect that. As soon as the episode is over, I can stop. If I did not have a chance to start the timer right away, because we all know that happens in real life, you could always go back after the fact and update it. And on Motivity, you can add in text boxes, any anecdotal information you'd like. You could put antecedent, consequence, you could put both. You could say what happened, totally up to you. You are designing your interface. So I'll say in this case, working at desk, prompted break, please. And just like everything on Motivity, this is saved right away. So I can see it right here. And then if I scroll down, I can see my data and I can see the anecdotal information as well. Here's an example of a frequency count. So I can collect the data as the behaviors occur, or maybe I can go in once I have a total and enter it in that way. Here's an example of asking for antecedent. So in this case, we were transitioning from the playground to the classroom. We could put it in just like that. And again, everything immediately is graphed, and we see that information that I typed in right here. Alrighty, let me just show you a few more examples here of all of our programs. Like I said, on Motivity, really the sky is the limit in terms of how you're measuring and setting up your program. Here is a really cool example of a changing criterion design. In this case, your phases are the length of time. So we could see here that if we are at 11 seconds, that's a failure, but maybe we're at a 6-minute duration, that is a success. And once it meets criteria, it will automatically transition to the next, which is 7 minutes. So all sorts of different ways you can set things up. Here's a 1-word mand. We could put in the specific words used. So just to get your imagination going on how you can set everything up on Motivity. I'm going to say ice cream because that Stitch picture inspired me, Tina. Now, the last thing I want to show you here, and this is really super important in terms of our integration, is the Motivity session note. Now, on Motivity, you have a template builder, or you can quite literally create anything, whether it's a session note, an initial treatment plan, a progress report, an accident and injury report, parent communication log, supervision note. I can go on and on. But once you create your notes, they are available for your users. And you can see here that I do have access to this incident report, treatment plan. You can also, if you want to, just assign the session notes that the RBT needs, so they're not going to see the other things as well. So in this case, I am going to choose a payer note. I will choose this example because I really think it's quite fun. It shows a lot of the creative features of our template builder. But what I'm seeing right here is the Aloha appointment that Tina added for Ohana coming in here. And it is asking me here, do I want to associate this note with this Aloha appointment? I'm going to click this button. And what that does now is exactly what it sounds like. It associates the note with the appointment. I have this little green indicator right here to indicate that the times match. Now I'm going to show you something super cool. It wows me every time. So our connection is so speedy and bidirectional that if you realize this has the wrong time in it, I'm going to show you what happens. Ready? So let's revise the time. Maybe the learner got here late and we actually started this. We're going to start billing this at 12:15. Now keep an eye on this little green dot. If you blink, you're going to miss it. It's going to turn yellow, which indicates there's an issue, and then it's going to go to Aloha, sync back, and then come back and tell me it's good. So let's revise that time. Do you see it? That's how quick our connection is. So if that has to happen, all of those adjustments can be made. But now to move on to the note itself. You can set up your note to look however you want to meet your payer specific requirements. You can see all of this demographic information is being pulled in automatically. It's asking me if this took place via telehealth. If so, I get this nice little drop down. All of my data are pulled directly into the report. So you can see all of that behavior data, all of that skill acquisition data. What I love about this is real time. So as your technicians are collecting data, it's updating live. So if we take a look at this one word man's right here, we did collect just one data point so far. If we keep going, you'll see this just updated. But what if I look at this and I say, oh, that was actually a mistake. This one should be a plus. You see it all adjust real time like that. So from a workflow perspective, your technicians can dock their note on the side of the screen and everything, they could just toggle back and forth. Really easy. Now this note, I absolutely love this example because it is so creative. This was inspired by a real life client story where they were having all sorts of trouble getting the information they needed in the session notes from their technicians to show medical necessity. So our customer success team worked with them. They're like, we have to come up with a way to make this easier for everyone. And they built in all of these drop-down options. Now, these are all completely customizable. This is just our drop-down tool in the builder. It's one of the tools that you have available to you when you're creating your templates. We added required fields so that they cannot submit their note until they fill out the bare minimum, so on and so forth. And then we also included multi-select. So you can see that with very minimal effort, we are getting a really robust narrative here. Now, of course, you might want it to be an open text box, and you can absolutely do that. We even have customers that have 3 different versions of the same note, and they assign one to their RBTs in training that has guardrails, just like this one. Then maybe they remove some and they assign them the next one up, and then the third one would be the open text box. So you can get super creative. It's really quite fun. And then every note has an approval process attached to the back end, and you add the signatures that you need. In this case, this note does require a parent signature. They can sign live with you, or they can log into their own Motivity account and they will have a queue of all of their notes awaiting signature. So up to you how you want to do that. It gets added to the bottom. You'll see also how it carries over to Aloha. And then as the technician, I have to sign this note as well. So I can go ahead. You see that this note actually has my geolocation included. So if you do need that for EVV requirements, you can put that in. So now from the technician perspective, I am all set. I have collected my data. I have filled out my note. I have signed it. All I have left to do is end my session. I see here there's one target I did not collect data on, and the system is asking me, should this be marked as a 0 or not tracked? I did not track this today, so I will mark it as such. It will not get graphed. If the session ended now, instead of the expected end time, I could change that. I could also do other if I need to edit it entirely. Again, this is what's being used to calculate rate and things like that. So I can end my session. That is all set. Now I am going to put on my supervisor hat. So now I have logged into Motivity as the supervising BCBA, and I could see that there are 2 notes awaiting my approval. And this one right here is the note that RBT Kara just submitted. I can take a look through really quickly and easily. I see all the signatures. If I'm happy with it, I can click approve. If I need to, I can reject it. So you can set up this process to have clinical approval, billing approval. It can be 2 separate people. It could be the same person. You can even specify an order if you want that clinical approval to go through first, or the billing, or vice versa. So what I love here is if I reject this from a clinical perspective, I can put the reason why. So I could say something like, please add another reinforcer. Now I submit this, and when my RBT logs back into the system, in their queue, they are going to see 1 revision request. And they will be able to click on this note, and they're going to be able to see exactly what their supervisor asked of them. So, okay, we have to add another reinforcer without having to do anything else. All they do is scroll down, fill that in as requested. This note does require that they sign again, but if you didn't need that, you don't have to put it. And then they're all set. So now, great, let's make sure. Did they put it in? Yep, excellent. We can approve this, submit. What I love is that if you go into this little history icon, the whole history of the note is stored for you with all the various iterations. So in the case of an audit, you have the full history of the note. You can also bulk export, makes it really super easy in the case that you do get audited, especially with this approval process. You know that everything is good once approved. And what's even more exciting is that everything has synced over to Aloha ABA. The appointment has auto-closed, and your admin or your biller is ready to go in and start taking care of the billing side of things. So Tina, back to you.
Awesome. Okay, let's see some things that have happened in my Aloha schedule. Okay, so in my schedule, I'm noticing a couple of things have happened to this appointment. From the outside, I could first see I have a new symbol that I have not yet discussed. I have this little checkbox. This little checkbox is letting me know from the outside there is a session note attached to this appointment. Then I can notice my completed box is checked for me as well. Let's say I want to check my utilization since it's now completed. I can always single click on that appointment and show my utilization here. So for Ohana, for direct service, I had 1,600 total units per auth. There's the date range. And of those 1,600, how many are scheduled versus not? Of those that are scheduled, how many are completed versus not? And of course, that completed updated when it has been completed on the Motivity side. Inside of this appointment, I am double clicking into the appointment itself. A couple of changes and updates have happened on the inside as well. The first one I want to show you is in this verification tab. So I can see our lovely signatures have pulled over both from the staff perspective side as well as the client side, as well as the geotag location, time, and date have pulled over as well. The start and the end time have synced with Motivity. I can see that 15 and starting on the 15 has changed. The completed box has checked for me, so I did not have to come in and mark anything as complete or sign off or verify times or anything like that. VT was done when Kara was done. Another thing that happened is in the session notes tab, I have a direct link to the session note. And if I click on that session note, it's going to open it up and show me the exact session note in relation to this appointment. So all of that happened by just completing my session note, getting it approved on the Motivity side if that approval step was needed. That being said, if it's a BT, they were done when they completed their session note and signed off. All right, so let's talk through what billing is going to look like on the Aloha side. So I have my appointment. It's marked as complete here. I have my session note attached to it. It has my signatures attached to it. if I am ready to come in and bill, the very first thing that I am going to do is I'm going to come into my billing tab and go to Billing Manager. Billing Manager is where you're going to be scrubbing all of your appointments before you actually submit these claims. So in Billing Manager, I'm going to first select my payer, and then I'm going to select my date range that I would like to bill. When I hit generate, all of my unbilled appointments are going to populate within those parameters. Now, Aloha does do an initial scrub for you, and that initial scrub is going to be based on these checkboxes on the left. Now, I'm noticing all my checkboxes are green, which is awesome. That basically means nothing is missing that needs to be added before I actually bill it out. But let's say that something wasn't defaulted at the authorization, or it was missing in that setup process. If that is the case, it's going to show me an orange checkbox. And this is basically Aloha's initial scrub saying, hey, something needs to be filled in. If you hover over an orange checkbox, it lets you know what it is that's missing. So in this example, we have to add in a rendering provider. We can't bill this line until we add this in. If I scroll to my rendering provider column, I can see it's pending over here. I can make that change right at this billing level. And now my checkbox is green, so nothing is missing. Now I'm going to give you a scroll over so you could see everything that you're looking at scrubbing at this screen. Keep in mind, anything in blue text is something that can be changed or adjusted at this level. So maybe we're checking on places of service here, making sure our units look good. Once I feel super good about all this information, I made any updates as I needed to, then what I'll do is I'll select the appointments I want to bill. I'll click on Process Billing, and this will submit these claims to our clearinghouse. So we integrate with two clearinghouses, Availity and Office Ally. And basically what that clearinghouse does is it takes these claims from Aloha and submits it to the payer portals for you. Once you have submit these claims through that Process Billing button, these claims are then sitting in the AR Manager of Aloha. AR Manager is managing your outstanding balances. In your AR Manager, you have your payers on the very left-hand side. You have your full outstanding balances on the very right. And then in the center, I have these aging buckets that let me know how long it's been since I billed that balance. Current, I billed it in less than 30 days, 30 to 60 days since billed, 60 to 90 days since billed, etc. I can click into any balance on the screen to get more information. So let's say I'm clicking inside this balance. I can see all of the claims that make up that balance. Let's say I need to call and check on a claim. I can click on this little clock tool next to that claim. All the information I'll need to read off to the payer on the phone to locate that claim is going to be located up top. And then at the bottom, there's a transaction log that is following me around the Aloha system. It's going to automatically record when did I bill. It's going to automatically record if I post any payments towards it. It's also a spot for me to add myself manual notes. So let's say that I called the payer. I need to put in my reference number, what they said, what happened. I can just add that here into my log, and I can post it to that transaction log. That way, every single time I look back on that claim, I can see everything that's going on with that claim itself. And then clicking into the claim, I can see the charge lines that make up that claim. So that's your AR Manager. That's your management of your claims. Now let's talk about what happens when you get paid. So the fun part. Over in the Payment Center, this is where we're jumping to. This is where any payments are going to be taking place. So this is where you're recording any manual payments or ERAs coming into the system. Now, if you are using a clearinghouse, your ERAs will automatically pull in and show up here in the Payment Center. When you see that ERA, you can click on it, view the ERA itself, and then there's a big blue auto post button at the very bottom. Auto posting an ERA in Aloha means that if we can match up what was paid to what was billed out, we're able to auto post it for you line by line of that ERA. It also transfers any client responsibilities as appropriate. So like your co-pays, your co-insurance deductibles, it'll transfer to the client. We match about 85% of ERAs. If there is anything that cannot be auto-matched, it will tell you. It'll say, okay, there's one line that needs manual matching. You can go in and manually match that one line. So let's say that we have posted that ERA. Maybe we have a kiddo with a copay. If you have a kiddo with a copay, you can come in, generate an invoice. This is going to take those numbers from this payment center. You can generate the invoice, send it off to them. Maybe they want to pay through a paper check. If they're paying through paper check, They hand you the check. You can come in, manually post that payment, select your payment source, check information, etc., amount, and you'll apply it to that outstanding copay balance. Now, we also do have that Stripe integration. So if a client wants to log into their Aloha client portal, they can also put in their credit card information. They'll see what outstanding balances they have. They can make a payment there. They can also see their payment history in their client portal. Also keep in mind that we do handle other sorts of payers as well. So maybe you have a school district payer or a private pay, you can generate invoices for those. We also do handle regional centers. So if you need to pull verification forms, you can do that as well. Okay, so that's kind of how the billing system works in Aloha. I do want to also mention we do have reports on all of this billing information. We have reports on anything in the system. These reports are going to provide you with all of the information you have in the system. We're not stingy with your data. It's basically giving you a data dump of info as you need it. You can always view anything in Aloha from these reports. You can also export them out to Excel as you need to. All right, let me stop sharing my screen. So that is going to conclude our demonstration today of how your team would use both systems. So we started with creating an authorization over Aloha. We went in.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Tina.
Oh, sorry about that. We started over on the authorization side with Aloha. We went into scheduling. We took some data. We created our session notes, approved our session notes in Motivity, and then we popped over and built everything out in the Aloha system. So keep in mind, Aloha and Motivity does provide mutual discounts for our mutual customers, and we would love to discuss this more with you. And this does make us comparable to all-in-one systems.
Yes. Absolutely. And I do see that there were a few questions that already came into the Q&A, and we will absolutely have time to address those. But while we're on it, I did want to just talk a little bit about our mutual customers. We are so very grateful to partner together. We have very high satisfaction rate amongst our customers. I think we counted it up and we're at almost 200 joint customers at this point. If you go on to any social media pages, it's a really nice place to go just to get feedback and see how people like the integration. And in general, it is very, very positive. We find that technicians love the combination because it is so easy to use. The admins and billers are super pleased with all the functionality on the practice management side. People talk about the ease of the workflow and how it really does feel like you're using one system. So if anyone is interested in getting connected to any of our customers, we're more than happy to send along some references. Our customers are our absolute best advocates. And we would love to meet with you to take a deep dive into the two systems. Obviously, this was a very high-level overview, mostly focused on the integration points, but because we are such robust platforms, we could spend a very long time diving deep into the functionality. So on the Motivity side, we can get into my favorite, which is the program builder, and really dive deep into all those bells and whistles and how you can set up your auto transitions and multiple measurement tools. And that's where my true nerdiness really comes out. And I'm sure Tina could do the same thing on the Aloha side as well with all that great practice management stuff. So please copy down our contact information. We'll also pop our direct email addresses into the chat. We'll also follow up directly with you. All right. So there are a few questions that came in, and keep them coming. But the first two are for Motivity, so I will take it away. The first question was if there is a way to see the full schedule or if technicians are only able to see it session by session. So let me give you a little glimpse into what that looks like on Motivity. There is the ability, once you're in this appointments card, to go see your full calendar. It does default to today, but you can either choose to toggle through to the next couple of days, and then you can always come back to today. I really like that little feature. Or you can click here and see your whole calendar, and you'll see if I click on a weekend day, for example, I don't have any sessions scheduled. So this is pulling in what you have today. So as a technician, you can absolutely see what you have scheduled for the week. And again, if there were any cancellations or changes or additions, that's going to all be reflected in real time. The next question was, is there a way to adjust what you want different roles within your organization to see on Motivity? For example, a technician versus a BCBA. And the answer is absolutely yes. So within your organization, under settings, you have access to this roles feature right here, and you can create as many roles as you need. So I am currently logged in as an administrator, so I have access to absolutely everything. But maybe you want your BCBAs to be able to see only learners that are on their case load, again, for that HIPAA compliance. So you can adjust that. And this gets super granular. You can assign what people can do with notes, what they can do with libraries, if they can edit past data. So you can create roles for every person in your organization. Like I mentioned, there are a lot of organizations that will set up a role for a behavior tech, but then also set one up for a BT in training. And give them a little bit less on the system so that as they're learning, they're not as overwhelmed. You can even specify what type of programs you want them to be able to collect data on. So maybe a BT in training isn't really quite ready. So for some of the more complex clinical programs, you can assign them just the lessons and goals that they are ready for. You can also assign the notes and the session types that they have access to. So you're really streamlining it and letting them hone in on what they should be doing. And then maybe as they progress to a BT lead, you could change their role accordingly so that they have access to more of the system. You can create roles for parents, in which case they might only see the caregiver playlist, which is a curated list of parent-friendly data collection tools. You can assign things if maybe you work with occupational therapists and speech therapists. You can say you only want them to see the OT session, and you only want them to see notes and session notes and reports and evaluations that are related to OT. So it is a very collaborative platform because everyone can log in, really see what they need to see. But then it's still very much all under one umbrella. So everybody knows what's going on with that client, but again, only seeing it at their appropriate level. It really is embracing that whole child approach that we're seeing emerge in the field right now, which is very, very exciting. Yeah.
Great question.
The really nice thing about both of our platforms is that you do have dedicated customer support. So on the Motivity side, you're paired with a BCBA who is going to be helping you to build your programs, build your templates, build out your session notes, your reports, alongside actually teaching you how to do it yourself. So the whole idea is that they're there to bring you on, and really you will not experience any kind of disruption because they'll be giving you the tools while you also learn it, and then they'll slowly fade away. Always there for check-ins, for support as needed. And I know Aloha has a very similar approach. So if you were to say, oh, is there a way to do this? It would be exactly what Tina was just doing. Like, oh, let's take a look and figure out a way.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And very similar to what Kara said, on the Aloha side, you're assigned to that customer success manager as well. You'll be set up with repeat weekly trainings. You are going to meet with them until you feel, okay, you don't have any outstanding questions. I don't need weekly meetings anymore. We're good. And then you still have their calendar. So if something does come up a day after, a week after, a month after, you are able to book on their calendar at any point. You are having connections with them your entire Aloha journey, and they're familiar with your site, they're familiar with your team, they're familiar with those questions that you're asking, and able to customize those answers and customize their support for what's going to be best for you.
Yeah. And I know on the Motivity side, what ends up happening is the system is so easy to adopt that after a while, the customers will say, oh, I don't need my monthly meeting. And then our customer success team is like, but I want to see you. How's everything going? And it becomes really more of like a relationship building kind of thing. So
yeah, for sure, for sure.
I'm putting our email addresses into the chat, and I will go ahead again and share the slide with our contact information on it.
We would love to talk with you more. As Kara was saying, there is so much in the systems that we did not share with you today. We really share that high level overview of the integration piece. But there is loads of information on both sides that we can deep dive into. We'd also love to talk through any individual questions you might have or say, okay, how does this apply for my specific company or this specific role? We would love to connect with you. So feel free to utilize our emails in the chat. Feel free to utilize the emails and the websites on the screen. And we're so interested in talking with you, and we're excited to meet in face-to-face one-on-one. So please utilize those, and we are excited to talk you through all of our systems.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, and keep an eye out for some follow-up. Thank you for joining.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Have a great rest of your days.
Thanks, Tina. You too.
Bye, Kara.
Bye-bye.